Hello, my dearest listeners, and welcome to Pillow Tales. I am Clara Beaumont, your gentle guide through the velvet hours of the night, and I am so delighted you have joined me once again. Before we begin, do share in the comments from which quiet corner of the world are you listening tonight? A cozy bed in the countryside, perhaps, or a fireside chair in the city. Knowing these whispered words reach you warms my heart immensely. Tonight, we return to the refined elegance of 1936 England for a classic detective mystery in the tradition of Agatha Christie. This is the case of the Mismatched Slipper and the Fireside, a tale of subtle deception, hidden grudges, and the triumph of perfect symmetry, featuring the incomparable Monsieur Hercule Poirot. Allow the languid descriptions of crackling fires, worn leather, and quiet manor evenings to cradle you toward deep, restorative sleep. Dim your lights, settle beneath your covers, feel your limbs grow heavier, and let the story unfold. Opening hook. In the flickering glow of the library fireplace at Ashcombe Hall, Sir Reginald Beaumont sat in his favourite leather armchair, his feet, usually encased in matching Moroccan leather slippers, extended toward the warmth. He sipped his evening brandy, the crystal glass catching the firelight. Then, with a sudden gasp, he clutched his chest, his face contorting in pain. The glass tumbled from his hand, shattering on the hearth. He slumped sideways, lifeless. No wound, no intruder. Only one slipper upon his right foot, the left mismatched, a woman's delicate velvet one, and the certainty that someone had orchestrated murder by the fireside. Chapter 1. The Arrival of Symmetry. In the flickering glow of the library fireplace at Ashcombe Hall, Sir Reginald Beaumont had sat in his favourite worn leather armchair, his feet extended toward the welcoming warmth in the matching pair of Moroccan leather slippers that were his evening ritual. The fire crackled softly, casting dancing shadows across the oak-panelled walls, lined with ancient tomes and curios from his travels. He held a crystal glass of brandy, the amber liquid catching the light as he sipped contemplatively, lost in the pages of an antiquarian journal. Then, without warning, his hand tightened upon the armrest. A sharp gasp escaped his lips. He clutched at his chest, his face contorting in sudden acute pain. The glass slipped from his fingers, tumbling to shatter upon the stone hearth in a spray of crystal fragments and brandy. He slumped sideways in the chair, his body going limp, eyes staring sightlessly into the flames. There was no wound upon his person, no sign of violence beyond the overturned brandy snifter. The heavy library door had been closed. The French windows to the terrace latched against the autumn night. The hall itself, remote amid the windswept Devonshire moors, had been secured as usual after dinner. No stranger had been admitted. household had retired early, respecting Sir Reginald's inviolable evening solitude. Yet when the valet entered at 11 to bank the fire, he found his master dead. Apparent heart failure, the doctor would later pronounce. But one detail disturbed the scene's grim symmetry. Upon Sir Reginald's right foot remained his customary brown leather slipper, monogrammed in gold thread. Upon the left, however, was a mismatched delicacy, a woman's embroidered velvet slipper, pale blue, far too small and ornate for his foot, stretched unnaturally as though forced upon it in haste or confusion. News of the baronet's sudden demise reached London the following morning, carried on urgent wires and the hushed concern of old acquaintances. It was the peculiarity of that mismatched slipper, reported by the shaken valet, that caught the attention of Monsieur Hercule Poirot. Retired though he was to the cultivation of prize vegetable marrows and the perfection of his moustache, Poirot could not resist an asymmetry in death. A personal note from the Chief Constable of Devonshire, invoking past favours, sealed the matter. Thus, on a blustery autumn evening in 1936, Poirot arrived at Ashcombe Hall. His compact figure emerged from the gleaming Daimler with characteristic precision, patent leather shoes crunching upon the gravel as he surveyed the manor. The hall rose darkly against the twilight sky, a Tudor masterpiece of mullioned windows, ivy-clad walls, and chimneys breathing wood smoke into the moorland wind. Poirot paused to adjust his Homburg hat and overcoat, inhaling the sharp scent of salt from the distant sea, mingled with damp earth and burning oak. He twirled the points of his magnificent moustache with quiet satisfaction. Symmetry, order, these were the foundations of existence. Where they were disturbed, chaos followed, and in death by the fireside, with a mismatched slipper, chaos most certainly reigned. The butler, a stoic figure named Jennings, whose face betrayed decades of impeccable service, ushered Poirot into the entrance hall. The air carried the perpetual aroma of beeswax, old leather, and faint brandy that seemed woven into the very fabric of the house. Ancestral portraits gazed down from panelled walls, their eyes stern beneath powdered wigs. In the library, the scene of the tragedy, the household had assembled in subdued tension. Lady Beatrice Beaumont, the widow, sat composed upon a chaise by the cold hearth. At 42, she retained the cool beauty of her youth, fair hair elegantly coiled, grey eyes steady, though shadows of grief or calculation lingered beneath them. Captain Harold Vance, Sir Reginald's nephew and presumptive heir, stood by the window, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his 30s, his military bearing evident despite civilian tweeds. War decorations adorned a side table. Gambling debts, Poirot would learn, adorned his conscience. Miss Lydia Croft, the secretary, slender, 28, with intelligent dark eyes and efficient manner, sat primly with notebook in lap. Her engagement ring, hidden when Sir Reginald lived, now glinted openly upon her finger. Mr. Felix Harrow, the valet, 50-ish, precise in movement and speech, devotion etched in every line of his face, stood attentively near the door. Finally, Mrs. Evelyn Shaw, Sir Reginald's estranged sister, sharp-featured, 55, dressed in severe black despite their long rift, occupied a high-backed chair, her presence unexpected. Poirot greeted them with a small bow, his English flawless, though lightly accented. Mesdames et messieurs, I regret intruding upon your sorrow, but death, especially death that disturbs symmetry, demands investigation. The doctor, summoned earlier, reiterated heart failure. Sir Reginald's angina worsened. The excitement of brandy by the fire, fatal. Poirot's green eyes gleamed. Excitement, yet the mismatched slipper. This disturbs me profoundly. Sir Reginald was fastidious, yes? Slippers always matching, monogrammed? Harrow nodded stiffly. Always, monsieur. I laid them out myself each evening. Lady Beatrice offered coolly. He rose unsteadily, perhaps kicked one off and donned mine in confusion. I'd left them warming earlier. Confusion? Poirot echoed. Or substitution deliberate? For in the smallest asymmetry lies often the greatest design. He approached the hearth, examining the armchair, the scattered glass shards now swept, the rug bearing faint brandy stains. The slippers lay upon a side table, one gentleman's leather, the other lady's velvet, embroidered with forget-me-nots. The velvet slipper, Poirot noted, showed stretching at the heel, as though briefly worn by a larger foot, and inside a faint white residue, powder. The little grey cells stirred vigorously. A natural death. Non. A murder most intimate, executed by the fireside in the hour of greatest comfort. Someone in this room understood the gentle art of deception through comfort itself. Order would be restored. Poirot would see to it. For where symmetry failed, justice must prevail. Chapter 2. The Ritual of the Fireside. Poirot settled into Sir Reginald Beaumont's leather armchair in the library the following morning. The fire freshly laid, but unlit, the autumn light filtering through the leaded windows in pale, diffused shafts. The room retained its atmosphere of masculine comfort. Dark oak panelling, shelves heavy with leather-bound volumes on antiquities and archaeology, a faint, lingering aroma of brandy and pipe tobacco. The hearth, scrubbed clean of last night's shards, bore only the faint stain upon the stone where the glass had fallen. He extended his neatly trousered legs toward the cold grate, imagining the ritual as described by the valet Harrow. Each evening after dinner, Sir Reginald retired here alone, the household respecting this sacred hour. Harrow would lay out the monogrammed slippers, soft Moroccan leather, perfectly matched, beside the chair. Sir Reginald poured his own brandy from the decanter upon the side table, precisely 2 fingers, no more. Then he settled, feet to the fire, journal or catalogue in hand, the flame's warmth enveloping him in absolute solitude. Comfort profound, Poirot murmured, closing his eyes to envision it. Vulnerability equally profound, for in the moment of greatest relaxation, the guard is lowest. The doctor, a local practitioner named Dr. Ellison, had been summoned again at Poirot's request. A bluff country gentleman with a brusque manner, he reiterated his diagnosis. Heart failure, Monsieur Poirot. Sir Reginald suffered angina these past months. I prescribed digitalis tonic, foxglove extract, diluted safely. The excitement of the fire, the brandy, enough to bring on the crisis. Poirot reopened his eyes, sharp and green. And the mismatched slipper, Doctor? This does not excite the heart? Ellison shrugged. Confusion in the final moments, perhaps. Pain causes disorientation. He kicked off one slipper, donned Lady Beatrice's by mistake. She often warmed hers here earlier. Yet Poirot noted the slippers upon the table. The gentleman's pair size 9, the lady's delicate 7. Impossible for comfort, even in delirium. Lady Beatrice entered then, summoned politely, her morning gown of fine black crepe rustling softly. She seated herself opposite, composed as ever. Madame, Poirot began, your husband's ritual. You observed it often? From the doorway occasionally, she replied coolly. Reginald valued his privacy. But yes, the slippers, the brandy measured precisely, the fire built to exact height. He disliked irregularity. And your own slippers, left warming. I read here sometimes in the afternoons. The fire is pleasant. I must have forgotten them. Poirot nodded. Yet the left slipper, your velvet one, shows stretching at the heel, as though forced upon a larger foot. Briefly, perhaps, but deliberately. Lady Beatrice's grey eyes flickered. I cannot explain it. Captain Vance strode in unannounced, his military boots loud upon the parquet. This is nonsense, Poirot. Uncle's heart gave out. Simple. The slipper. Servant's carelessness. Carelessness, Poirot echoed mildly. Harrow has served 20 years without error. And you, Captain, heir presumptive, stand to gain the estate, delayed only by your uncle's disapproval of your financial enthusiasms. Vance flushed. Debts, yes, from investments gone sour. Uncle lectured endlessly. But murder him for it? Preposterous. Miss Croft followed, notebook in hand, her engagement ring now openly displayed. Captain Vance and I planned marriage, with Sir Reginald's blessing delayed indefinitely, but we waited patiently. Mrs. Shaw entered last, her sharp features pinched. My brother and I quarreled years ago, over family jewels he claimed solely. I arrived only yesterday to reconcile. Too late for murder. Poirot examined the decanter, brandy untainted, the tonic bottle from Sir Reginald's bedside, digitalis in therapeutic dose. Yet autopsy traces revealed overdose, absorbed slowly, perhaps through skin. He lifted the mismatched velvet slipper, turning it to the light. Inside the lining, a faint, crystalline residue, white, odorless. Digitalis, concentrated. The ritual of comfort had been perverted into a slow, intimate poison, applied to the foot, absorbed through thin skin by the fire's warmth. The mismatched slipper, not confusion, but vehicle. Someone had substituted it deliberately, knowing Sir Reginald's routine inviolable. In the quiet library, with the cold hearth mocking the warmth it once provided, Poirot felt the pattern emerging. The killer had struck not in violence, but in the gentlest hour, by the fireside where trust was absolute. The little grey cells burned brighter than any flame. Symmetry would be restored through the revelation of this most intimate deception. Chapter 3. Motives by the hearth. Poirot moved from the library to the gardens the next morning, where the autumn wind whipped through the clipped yew hedges and scattered leaves across the gravel paths like confetti from a forgotten celebration. The flower beds, though past their summer glory, retained disciplined order, roses pruned, foxglove spikes cut back. Yet a few late blooms lingered in sheltered corners. He paused beside a bed where digitalis, foxglove, had flourished earlier in the season, its tall stems now bare, but the soil still rich with possibility. Captain Harold Vance joined him uninvited, hands thrust deep in his tweed pockets, his breath visible in the chill air. Still poking about, Poirot? Uncle died of his heart, nothing more sinister. Poirot regarded him mildly. And yet the overdose of digitalis, Captain. Absorbed slowly, mimicking natural failure. Convenient for one burdened by debts. Vance stiffened. Investment's gone wrong. War changes a man's luck. Uncle lectured endlessly, threatened to cut me off if I didn't reform. But poison him? I'd have waited. He wasn't long for this world anyway. Patience, Poirot murmured, is a virtue, but desperation shortens it. Miss Lydia Croft approached then, her coat buttoned against the wind, cheeks flushed. She glanced nervously at Vance, their secret engagement now an open secret since Sir Reginald's death. Sir Reginald disapproved of us, she admitted quietly when Poirot inquired. Said Harold needed to stand alone before marrying, and lately, I feared I was with child. He would have been furious. Disinheritance certain. Poirot's eyebrows rose fractionally. A powerful motive, mademoiselle, and access. You typed his correspondence, knew his habits intimately. I prepared nothing. she protested. Only letters. Lady Beatrice appeared on the terrace, watching them with cool detachment. When summoned, she descended gracefully. You suspect us all, monsieur. But consider, Reginald and I lived separately these past years. Rumours of my friendships in London. Divorce impossible without scandal. His death frees me respectably. Freedom, Poirot noted, and the estate unencumbered. Mrs. Evelyn Shaw emerged from the morning room, her sharp voice carrying on the wind. Don't forget me, detective. Reginald and I hadn't spoken in a decade. After he claimed Mother's jewels solely his, I arrived to demand my share. He laughed. Now they're mine by default. Grudge long held, Poirot observed. Harrow, the valet, appeared last, polishing a silver tray upon the stone balustrade. I served faithfully 20 years, he said stiffly when questioned. Bequeathed a pittance, a cottage, small pension. After all I did, dressing him, managing his collections. Overlooked loyalty, Poirot sympathized. A bitter draught. Red herrings bloomed like the foxglove, garden access universal. Digitalis leaves dried and stored in the still room for tonic preparation. Handled by Lady Beatrice, measured by Croft for labels, even admired by Shaw during her tour. Poirot noted fresh footprints in the soft earth beneath the library's French windows, heavy man's boot leading inward and out, and upon the hearth rug, swept hastily, a single wilted foxglove petal, purple, deliberate. The motives gathered by the hearth like embers. Inheritance accelerated, Vance. Scandal avoided, Beatrice. Pregnancy concealed, Croft. Jewels reclaimed, Shaw. Loyalty betrayed, Harrow. Yet the library had been alone, door closed, windows latched from within. How had the poisoner entered the ritual of comfort undetected? In the blustery garden, Poirot felt the wind shift. The mismatched slipper was key. Not confusion, but deliberate substitution. Someone had been by the fireside that night, close enough to touch. The little grey cells burned steadily. The hearth held its secret still, but not for long. Chapter 4. The Palette of Deception. Poirot returned to the library as the afternoon light waned. The fire now laid and crackling softly, casting a warm glow that mocked the chill of suspicion permeating the room. He stood before the hearth, examining the armchair with renewed intensity. The leather worn to a soft patina from years of use. The footstool positioned precisely for Sir Reginald's comfort. The mismatched slipper lay upon the side table, its velvet faded, but the embroidery still delicate. The laboratory report from London had arrived by special delivery. Digitalis overdose confirmed, but not ingested, absorbed transdermally through the skin of the foot, accelerated by the fire's warmth. The crystalline residue inside the velvet slipper, concentrated foxglove extract applied as a paste. "The palate of the poisoner," Poirot announced to the empty room, "is subtle. Not the crude draught in brandy, but the slow infusion through comfort itself. The slipper, substituted during the ritual, the poison absorbed gradually as he warmed his feet. He summoned Dr. Ellison once more, the physician arriving with his black bag and brusque manner intact. "Transdermal digitalis?" Ellison blustered. "Possible in theory. Concentrated extract on thin skin, heat-enhancing absorption. But who would devise such?" "Someone intimate with his habits," Poirot replied. "And with access to foxglove, dried in the still room for your tonic." Ellison flushed. "I prepared the oral tonic. Safe dosage." "Yet the bottle shows no overdose," Poirot noted. "The poison was external. The slipper, Lady Beatrice's, but stretched briefly by a larger foot." To demonstrate, Poirot recreated the scene. He removed his own impeccable shoe, donning the velvet slipper, too small, uncomfortable. "Imagine the paste inside. Cool at first, then warming, seeping." A search of the still room yielded dried foxglove, quantities missing. And upon Lady Beatrice's dressing table, a small jar of hand cream, scented with lavender, but traces of digitalis when tested. Confronted, Lady Beatrice remained composed. "I use foxglove in creams sometimes. Therapeutic for joints. Reginald borrowed it occasionally for his gout." "Borrowed?" Poirot echoed, or replied deliberately. Captain Vance's boots, examined closely, bore garden soil matching the flowerbed prints beneath the French windows. Vance admitted. "I visited that evening, through the windows, to avoid servants. Uncle and I argued. He threatened complete disinheritance over my debts. I left in anger." Miss Croft's lipstick smudge upon the tonic bottle, explained as tasting for bitterness. But the bottle, untainted. Mrs. Shaw's room revealed a hidden letter. Sir Reginald planning to bequeath the contested jewels to charity. Harrow's quarters, a spare library key, and gardening gloves with foxglove stains. The palette grew richer. Opportunity, Vance's entry. Knowledge, Ellison, Croft. Access, Beatrice, Harrow. Grudge, Shaw. Yet the windows had been latched from within. How exit without detection? Poirot noticed faint pry marks upon the frame, external but recent, and upon the hearth, swept but missed, a single thread of twine, fine and strong. The deception deepened. The poisoner had entered and exited unseen, the slipper swapped in minutes. That night, Poirot prepared his own fireside vigil, brandy untouched, slippers his own, but a faint scratching at the French windows, someone testing the latch. The artist returned to admire the canvas, or to eliminate the observer. The little grey cells demanded vigilance. The hearth's warmth concealed peril still. Chapter 5. shadows on the hearth. The scratching at the French windows proved fleeting, a branch in the wind, or perhaps imagination heightened by suspicion. Poirot rose swiftly nonetheless, his small frame alert, and unlatched the windows to peer into the darkness. The terrace lay empty, moonlight silvering the stone balustrade. The gardens beyond, swallowed by moorland mist. Yet upon the flagstones, a fresh scuff mark, heel of a man's boot, damp with dew. He secured the windows once more, the latch clicking with finality, and returned to the fireside. The fire burned low now, embers glowing like watchful eyes. Poirot set a trap of his own devising. He announced at dinner, with studied casualness, that he had determined the exact method of the poison's application and would reveal all in the morning. A small demonstration by the hearth will confirm everything, he declared, his gaze sweeping the table. The bait was taken. The household retired early, tension thick as the Devon fog pressing against the windows. Poirot did not retire. He positioned himself in the shadowed billiard room adjoining the library, curtains parted a fraction, commanding a view of the hearth through the connecting door left ajar. The manor clock struck midnight. Footsteps sounded softly in the corridor, hesitant, then purposeful. The library door opened. A figure entered, silhouetted against the dying fire's glow. Mrs. Evelyn Shaw. She moved with surprising agility for her age, proceeding directly to the hearth. Kneeling, she lifted the rug, fingers probing the stone beneath, as though seeking something concealed. Poirot stepped into the light, his presence announced by the soft creak of the floorboard. Madame Shaw, you seek perhaps the residue of poison, or evidence you believed overlooked? She rose sharply, face pale in the firelight. Monsieur Poirot, I could not sleep. Thinking of my brother, perhaps he hid the jewels here, as he once threatened. Jewels? Poirot echoed gently. Or the vial of concentrated digitalis? Come, madame. Your quarrel with Sir Reginald, over family heirlooms he claimed solely. You arrived the day before his death, ostensibly to reconcile. Convenient timing. Mrs. Shaw's composure cracked. He mocked me, said the jewels were his by right, that I would get nothing. I searched tonight, yes, hoping to find them before the will is read. But poison him? I had no knowledge of his tonic, no access to his slippers. Poirot studied her. Yet you knew the library's rhythms, the French windows often left unlatched for air, and the garden beds. You walked them yesterday, admiring the foxglove. I admired flowers, nothing more, she protested. Poirot escorted her back to her room, noting her small feet, unlikely to stretch the velvet slipper. The trap had caught a searcher, not the killer. But her nocturnal wanderings illuminated shadows, the hearth rug disturbed previously, perhaps concealing evidence. In his own chamber, Poirot examined the scuff upon the terrace, matching Captain Vance's boot tread precisely, and beneath the library rug, lifted carefully, a small, empty vial, corked, bearing faint, crystalline residue. Digitalis paste. The killer had returned it, hidden hastily after the deed, or planted it now to incriminate another. Multiple shadows danced upon the hearth. Vance's desperation, Croft's secret, Beatrice's freedom, Shaw's grudge, Harrow's resentment. The mismatched slipper, vehicle of death, swapped during a brief intrusion. But how had the killer induced Sir Reginald to don the poisoned one without resistance? A distraction, personal, intimate. The little grey cells wove tighter. The hearth's shadows lengthened, but dawn would bring clarity. The comfort of the fireside had been weaponized. The killer walked among them still. Chapter 6. The Deception of Comfort. Poirot convened the household in the library the following afternoon, the fire burning steadily now, its warmth a cruel irony against the chill of revelation settling over the room. Rain pattered against the windows, blurring the moorland view into a watercolor of greys. The armchair stood empty, a silent accuser. "Mes amis," Poirot began, standing before the hearth with hands clasped behind his back. "We confront not a crime of violence, but of comfort perverted. The mismatched slipper, vehicle of death. Digitalis paste applied inside the velvet lining, absorbed through the skin as Sir Reginald warmed his feet. Slow, mimicking heart failure. Genius in its intimacy. All eyes fixed upon him. Lady Beatrice pale but composed, Vance defiant, Croft twisting her handkerchief, Shaw sharp-featured, Harrow rigid. The ritual inviolable, solitude absolute, yet intrusion occurred. The French windows, pried subtly, latch manipulated from without. Vance shifted. "I admitted entering, to argue, but no poison." Poirot continued. "The overdose required precision, paste concentrated, applied during brief absence, distraction essential. A telephone call, ringing from the hall extension, answered promptly by habit." Croft flushed. "The exchange shows no call." "Precisely," Poirot said softly. "Fabricated from within, by one with access to the private line in the study." Lady Beatrice's eyes narrowed. "Anyone could." "No. Timing perfect. The killer entered via windows during the call, swapped the prepared slipper, velvet dosed earlier, with Sir Reginald's own. He returned, donned the mismatched pair in the fire's glow, poison seeping." Harrow protested. "Sir would notice the difference?" "Warmth distracts," Poirot replied, "and pain onset gradual, confusion attributed to angina." The vial found beneath the rug, traces matching the paste. Shaw's nocturnal search, seeking jewels, but disturbing the hiding place. Vance's boots, matching terrace scuffs, Croft's lipstick, on a glass in the study near the telephone. The deception clarified. A pair acting in concert. Vance and Croft, desperation doubled. Inheritance for him, legitimacy for her child. They planned. Croft rang the bell from study during Vance's argument visit, extended secretly. Vance swapped slipper, applied from vial, prepared with garden foxglove, knowledge from Croft's typing of botanical notes. Exit via windows, latch re-engaged with string, fibers matching twine in Vance's fishing kit. Red herrings, Harrow's resentment, overlooked will, Beatrice's freedom, rumoured lover, Shaw's jewels, the comfort of the fireside, weaponized by those closest. Cliffhanger, a hidden letter in Sir Reginald's desk, disinheriting Vance entirely, favouring charity. Discovered too late. Motive sealed. The little grey cells had woven the net. The pair's joint deception unravelled. Chapter 7. The Illusion of Solitude. Poirot gathered the household in the library once more, the fire now roaring as though to banish the chill of impending truth. Rain had given way to a watery sunset, the light slanting through the windows in pale gold bars across the Persian rug. The armchair stood central, the mismatched slippers placed deliberately upon the footstool like exhibits in a trial. Mesdames et messieurs, Poirot began, his voice calm and precise. We confront the illusion of solitude. Sir Reginald alone by the fireside, door closed, windows latched from within. Yet the poisoner entered, substituted the slipper, and departed unseen. How? Captain Vance shifted impatiently. You've said windows were pried. Preed, yes, Poirot replied, but the latch re-engaged from without. Observe. He moved to the French windows, producing a length of fine fishing twine from his pocket. A loop around the latch handle, the end passed through the narrow gap at the frame's base. Always present in these old fittings. Pulled taut from the terrace to secure it. Then, with a thin hook, perhaps a bent paperclip, or patience, the twine retrieved through the same gap. The windows appear latched from inside, the room sealed, yet the illusion is complete. Harrow's eyes widened. I checked them myself that night. Secure. Secure after deception, Poirot said. The pry marks, subtle, made with a thin blade. The scuffs upon the terrace. Your boot, Captain. Vance flushed. I admitted entering. To argue. Argument extended, Poirot continued. Long enough for the substitution. But you did not act alone. Miss Croft paled, clutching Vance's arm. The telephone distraction, Poirot explained. Rung from the study extension, private line, no external record. Miss Croft, your lipstick upon the study glass, your knowledge of the bell's timing from typing Sir Reginald's correspondence. You rang while Captain Vance performed the deed. Croft gasped. No. The motive compounded, Poirot said gently. Captain, debts crushing, Inheritance delayed by disapproval. Miss Croft. Pregnancy feared. Marriage blocked. Child illegitimate without swift freedom. Together, desperation perfect. Lady Beatrice's eyes flashed. And I, suspected for freedom. A red herring, Poirot admitted. Your rumored liaisons, gossip only. Mrs. Shaw's jewels, distraction. Harrow's resentment, loyalty true. He turned to the couple. The slipper dosed earlier. Velvet lining prepared with paste from garden foxglove, concentrated in the still room. Vance swapped during the call's distraction. Sir Reginald, absent briefly to answer, returned, donned the mismatched pair unknowingly, poison absorbing by the fire's warmth. Vance's defiance cracked. You have no proof. The twine fibers upon the terrace, matching your fishing kit. The vial beneath the rug. Your fingerprints faint but present. The letter in the desk, disinheriting you entirely, discovered too late. Croft sobbed. We only wanted a future. Vance slumped. Uncle laughed at my debts, said I'd never inherit while he lived. Lydia, the child. The illusion shattered, solitude breached by desperate love. The constable waited outside. The fireside, once sanctuary, revealed its vulnerability. The little grey cells had pierced the deception. Solitude was an illusion. Murder, most intimate. Chapter 8. Bitter warmth. The library fire burned high that evening, flames leaping as though eager to consume the last vestiges of deception. The household sat in a semicircle around the hearth, the mismatched slippers placed upon the mantel like trophies of the chase. Poirot stood before them, compact and immaculate, the firelight glinting upon his polished shoes. Mes amis, he began, his voice steady and measured. The warmth of the fireside, symbol of comfort, of security, has been turned to bitterness. The poisoner exploited the very ritual that brought Sir Reginald peace. Captain Vance leaned forward, defiance fading to desperation. You've spun a pretty tale, Poirot. String, windows, telephone. But proof? Proof, Poirot replied calmly, is in the details you believed insignificant. The twine fibers upon the terrace, matching your fishing line, Captain. The pry marks upon the window frame, made by your pocket knife, found with matching scratches in your room. The vial beneath the rug. Your fingerprints, faint but unmistakable. Miss Croft wept softly, clutching Vance's hand. We only wanted a future, Poirot finished gently. Accelerated by murder. The affair between you, secret, passionate. The child feared, illegitimate without swift inheritance. Sir Reginald's letter discovered too late. Disinheriting you entirely for your debts, Captain. Favouring charity over profligacy. Vance's face crumpled. He mocked me, said I'd squandered the family name. Lydia, the baby. We saw no other way. Lady Beatrice spoke coldly. You killed my husband for money and convenience. Croft sobbed. We never meant... Only to make him sleep deeply, perhaps. The dose, we miscalculated. Non, Poirot corrected. Calculated precisely for heart failure. The velvet slipper, prepared earlier in the still room, paste from foxglove you harvested together, Captain, wearing Harrow's spare gloves to deflect suspicion. Miss Croft rang the distraction from the study while you entered via the windows. Swapped the slippers, Sir Reginald absent briefly, answering the bell. He returned, donned the pair unknowingly, poison absorbing slowly by the fire's warmth. Exit the same way, latch re-engaged with twine, illusion complete. Harrow exhaled sharply. 20 years loyal, and nearly suspected for their greed. Mrs. Shaw nodded grimly. Brother died for their impatience. Vance rose slowly, shoulders slumped. It's true, all of it. We thought natural. Heart failure blamed on age. The slipper. A mistake, we believed. Non, Poirot said. The slipper was genius. Intimate, trusted. Comfort as weapon. The constable entered then, summoned discreetly. Vance offered no resistance, allowing cuffs with quiet resignation. Croft followed, weeping, supported by a police matron. Lady Beatrice watched impassively. The estate is mine now, unencumbered. Harrow bowed slightly. And my small bequest honoured, thanks to you, monsieur. The room emptied slowly, the fire settling into embers. Poirot lingered by the hearth, the warmth now innocent. The bitter infusion of greed and fear had been poured out. Truth prevailed, though the fireside would never feel quite the same. The little grey cells rested content, warmth restored, without deception. Chapter 9. The Final Warmth. The library fell silent after Poirot's revelation, the fire's crackle the only sound as the weight of confessions settled over the room like ash from a dying blaze. Captain Harold Vance sat motionless, his broad shoulders slumped, the military bearing that had defined him now shattered. Miss Lydia Croft wept quietly beside him, her face buried in her hands, the engagement ring glinting accusingly in the firelight. Poirot regarded them with a mixture of triumph and sorrow. The little grey cells had unravelled the tangle, yet the human frailty exposed was ever poignant. You acted in concert, he said softly, addressing the pair. A deception born of desperation. Captain, the debts mounting, investments failed, Sir Reginald's threats of complete disinheritance. The letter in his desk, discovered too late, would have left you nothing, the estate to charitable causes. Vance lifted his head, eyes hollow. He mocked me one final time that afternoon, said I'd never be worthy of Ashcombe. Lydia, the child? We couldn't wait years for nature to take its course. Croft's voice broke. We never intended murder, only to weaken him, perhaps hasten the inevitable. The dose, we thought, controlled. Non, Poirot corrected gently. Controlled precisely for fatality. The foxglove harvested together from the garden beds. Your boots leaving prints, Captain. Concentrated in the still room. Paste prepared with knowledge from Miss Croft's typing of botanical notes and Dr. Ellison's prescriptions. The velvet slipper, Lady Beatrice's, borrowed or taken, lined with the poison, stretched briefly by your foot during preparation. Lady Beatrice spoke at last, her voice steady, but edged with ice. You used my slipper, my presence as unwitting camouflage. A red herring partial, Poirot admitted. Your rumoured freedoms distracted. Mrs. Shaw's jewels, another. Harrow's overlooked loyalty, touching but innocent. Harrow bowed his head. I feared suspicion, hid nothing. Mrs. Shaw exhaled sharply. Brother died for their greed. The jewels are mine now, by default. Vance nodded slowly. The plan. Lydia rang the study bell at the agreed moment. Uncle rose to answer, his habit inviolable. I entered via the French windows, pried earlier, swapped the slippers, his monogrammed pair removed, the dosed velvet substituted. He returned, settled, donned them without close inspection. The fire's warmth distracting, pain gradual. Croft whispered. We watched from the terrace, saw him slump. Thought it natural. Natural illusion, Poirot said. Exit the same. Latch re-engaged with twine from your fishing kit. Vial hidden hastily beneath the rug. Disturbed later by Mrs. Shaw's search. The constable entered then, accompanied by officers. Vance rose without resistance, offering his wrists. For Lydia, for the child, we thought. Croft was led away gently, supported as shock overtook her. Lady Beatrice watched impassively. The hall is mine, free at last, though tainted. Harrow murmured, my bequest secure, thanks to truth. Mrs. Shaw gathered her composure. Justice, belated. The room emptied, the fire settling into embers. Poirot lingered by the hearth, the final warmth innocent once more. The mismatched slipper, symbol of deception, removed, the matching pair restored symbolically upon the footstool. The final warmth had yielded its truth. Murder, born of impatience. Love, twisted by fear. The fireside, sanctuary violated, now healed. The little grey cells rested, symmetry triumphant. Chapter 10. Symmetry restored. The days following the arrests brought a tentative peace to Ashcombe Hall, as though the manor itself exhaled after holding its breath through deception and grief. The wind off the moors softened, the rain ceased, and weak winter sunlight filtered through the windows, gilding the dust motes in quiet benediction. The library fire was lit once more, but now with innocence, crackling cheerfully as the household adjusted to a new order. Lady Beatrice Beaumont assumed quiet command of the estate, her mourning gown exchanged for practical grey. She summoned the solicitor to confirm the will, unchanged in its essentials, the bulk passing to her as widow, with provisions for Harrow's cottage and pension honoured, and a generous bequest to Mrs. Shaw for the contested jewels. Reginald's final justice, she said coolly to Poirot over breakfast, though bought at bitter cost. Mrs. Shaw accepted the settlement with grudging grace, departing for London with trunks packed and resentment softened by possession. "Brother and I quarrelled too long," she admitted in farewell. "Death ends arguments, if nothing else." Harrow, the valet, received his due with quiet dignity, retiring to the cottage with a lifetime's savings and the satisfaction of loyalty vindicated. "I served faithfully," he told Poirot, "and truth served me in return." Captain Vance and Miss Croft awaited trial in separate custody, his military bearing broken, her youth shadowed by remorse and the child she carried. The newspapers whispered of scandal, but Ashcombe Hall closed its doors to gossip. On Poirot's final morning, he took tea in the library, proper English breakfast blend, poured precisely. The fire warmed the room gently, the leather armchair inviting but unoccupied. The slippers upon the side table were now perfectly matched, Sir Reginald's monogrammed pair, restored as symbol. He sipped slowly, savouring the untainted warmth. The fireside, he mused aloud to the empty room, demands symmetry above all, comfort in ritual, balance in habit. When one slipper mismatches, chaos enters. So too in life. Small irregularity reveals the greatest disorder. He adjusted the points of his moustache with familiar satisfaction, the ritual grounding him. The little grey cells, having laboured diligently through shadows and deception, now rested content. The case was closed. Justice, measured and precise, had been served, not with drama, but with the quiet restoration of order. As the Daimler bore him away down the gravel drive, Poirot glanced back at Ashcombe Hall, its windows gleaming in the pale sun, smoke rising peacefully from the chimneys. The gardens would sleep through winter, awakening in spring to new tending. The fireside would warm again, without peril, symmetry restored. Not perfectly, for human affairs allow no absolute, but sufficiently. And in the rhythm of the departing wheels upon the road, Poirot allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. Another triumph for the little grey cells. The gentle comfort of the fireside, of detection, had prevailed. Hello, my dearest listeners, and welcome to the soothing close of the case of the mismatched slipper and the fireside here on Pillow Tales. I am Clara Beaumont, your companion through these whispered hours, and I am so grateful you have journeyed with me to the very end of this intimate mystery. The little grey cells of Monsieur Hercule Poirot have triumphed once more. Symmetry has been restored to Ashcombe Hall. The fireside burns warmly again without shadow. The gardens sleep peacefully beneath winter's blanket, and the ritual of comfort, pure, untainted, may continue under wiser, healed hands. Truth, like the gentle warmth of a well-tended hearth, requires only balance, patience, clarity, and order. When those are honored, even the coldest deception yields to light. Feel that light settle over you now, dear listener. Let the quiet crackle of the fire, the soft creak of the leather armchair, and the satisfied harmony of a solved mystery carry you gently towards slumber. Breathe deeply. Exhale slowly. Allow your thoughts to drift like embers rising into a peaceful night sky. The manor sleeps. Poirot sleeps. His magnificent moustache perfectly groomed, his conscience at rest. And now, so may you. Sleep deeply, my friends. Dream sweetly of matching slippers and harmless warmth. May morning find you refreshed and completely renewed. Good night. Until our next tale. This is Clara Beaumont, whispering you into the gentlest of slumbers. Sweet dreams.